Hey guys, how's it going? Collections here, and welcome to another action figure review video. This time we're looking at the KO Mafex Spider-Man from Aliexpress. So let's kick off with the packaging. The packaging looks fairly similar to Mafex. Obviously they don't have the stamp that signifies this is like authentic Mafex. But other than that, everything else looks pretty good. You've got lots of details here. Double Trouble, Spider-Man hanging upside down. The Amazing Spider-Man comic version, everything's there basically. So it looks kind of legit, but it's not as well. So there are no telltale signs other than the thing that's missing here, and I've compared it to Ben Reilly box. That's the only other Spider-Man action figure I have, and you can't really tell by the box that much because at a glance they just look really well done. But yeah, the box looks alright, I guess. So if you look at the comparison here, this is the authentic box from Ben Reilly over here. I mean, because there's different Spider-Man figures, I can't really tell if the red should be that different, but they are. And they both say the Amazing Spider-Man, but this one has the Medicom logo here, that one doesn't. And like I was saying before, that's the seal that you can't really replicate, or these KO companies can't really replicate. So that's not on this box. So that's probably the best way to tell. But other than that, boxes both look pretty good. This one being a fake still looks really good. And here we have Spider-Man out of the box and everything he comes with. So there's a lot of accessories, but we'll get to that later on. Let's first take a look at Spider-Man. Alright, so Spider-Man, being the KO figure that he is, still is an absolutely amazing figure. Aliexpress has, or whoever's made this in China, has really done a really good job on this. I think this is like the V2 version of the Spider-Man figure, because I know that the previous version of Spider-Man was a lot smaller. This one actually compares very well with Ben Reilly. I'll take you guys through that later on. But it's a phenomenal figure. Ever since I cracked him out of the packaging, I've been playing with him non-stop. Mafex being Mafex, they are really expensive import figures, and this being a KO, I'm much more eager to pick it up and play with it. I'm not worried about breaking it as much, so it's a really big plus for me, and I've been loving like tweaking him or putting him to really cool positions. He does have a few flaws, but then just with the aesthetics, he looks really good. Scale wise, articulation is pretty okay, and it's just eye-catching. Well, there are a few bad things about him as well, like the right hip joint. Later on I'll show you the socket of the hip joints are actually red. They should have probably been blue, would have been better, but the right side of my Spider-Man basically looks a little bit odd, and the joints sometimes pop off easily, which I think can be said for Mafex as well, but it is what it is. The paints are a bit sloppy, but it can also be said for Mafex as well. So there are a few scratch marks here and there, but yeah, I mean that's part of the Mafex experience as well. So all in all, I think the details and the look and the appeal, I would give it a 4 out of 5. So let's take a closer look at Spider-Man. His face looks pretty awesome. Big wide eyes, they're white, and there is plenty of web lining going on there, but they're not always painted in the best, but I think it still gets the job done. The spider mark on his chest looks awesome. The paint, you've got like a bit of scratches, you've got a bit of scratches and color paints like being marked here and there. So I mean that's part of Mafex as well. So the only thing that really bugs me is the insides of the thighs. They're red, they should have been blue. Don't know why they did it red, but that's a little bit weird. It just really stands out. If that was blue, and you know, like this leg is sitting a little bit further apart from the hip as well, but if this was blue it would have been much less noticeable, but it is what it is. In terms of the back Spidey logo, that looks pretty cool. There's some paint scuffs here and there again, but that's part of KO's. These joints are fairly loose, but we'll get to that in the articulation section. But there's like a little bit of a dirty thing going on as well. But then other than that, this figure looks amazing. So yeah, for 25 bucks or 30 bucks that I spent on it, it's a really good figure. So in terms of accessories, Spider-Man comes with this mask piece that's basically mask taken off of his face. It is very well done. I mean, the sculpt is stolen from Mafex, so it looks phenomenal, and the paint is not that bad. Like, it just basically is on par with the paint on the figure, which with if you consider missing web lines and all that, it's all right. We've got a secondary head that looks like that. We'll compare it next to the head that was already on the figure. So it looks like it's emoting a little bit, where the second head looks more angrier. But then if you look at them on their own, you basically can't, like, that doesn't show too much emotion. And yeah, they've got the same paint flaws, but yeah, they're consistent at least. So yeah, that's what the second head looks like. And the third head is a Peter Parker head, which also comes with an extra neck piece, which has the suit halfway taken off, and you can see a bit of the neck. And the face is buttery. It just looks not good. It looks like butter, like a butterface kind of person. That's a little bit weird. But the eyes are not painted well. The eyebrows are basically not aligned. The paint is not on the places you'd expect it to be. Yeah, this face is not my favorite. So I mean, because of so many other options, I'll probably never have this on the figure, but at least you get that option as well. Alright, so this Spider-Man comes with a lot of hands. We've basically got two fist hands that are on the figure at the moment, so those are the fist hands. They look pretty alright. I mean, in terms of painting, they're pretty bad, but they're on par with the rest of the figure, so no complaints there. And being a KO figure, I mean, I'll take what I get. We have 4 pairs of non-magnetized hands. So we've got the 2 swinging hands, which basically can hold on to the Spidey webs, so they look pretty cool. Well detailed, but that's the Mafex sculpt, and you can also use them for thumbs up giving hands. We've got 2 web thwipping hands, which, yeah, they look pretty cool. Yeah, the sculpt again is stolen from Mafex, so obviously they look awesome, but the paint does leave a little bit to be desired, but it is what it is. We get 2 relaxed hands, which are pretty cool. They're pretty tiny, so yeah, again, the sculpting being Mafex, it's good, but the painting is not the best. And we've got 2 wall climbing hands, which are pretty good, on par with the rest of the hands. So for the magnetized hands and feet, Spider-Man basically comes with these wall climbing magnetized hands, and I'm not sure how strong the magnet is. Let's test it out. I've got like that here, so yeah, that stays on pretty strong. It could probably hold the figure as well, so you can see that there's a little bit of resistance while it's held onto the thing. So using all 4 magnets, you could possibly hold Spider-Man onto some kind of like metallic thing. But these hands look pretty alright. I mean, they kind of look like Iron Man's repulsor hands, but yeah, being Mafex, they're sculpted well. The boots also come with magnets, and these are pretty strong as well. So similar to the hands, the boots are magnetized, and very well magnetized at that. So even though they are KO, I think using the hands and the boots, they should stick onto your fridge or something like that very well. And yeah, it would be a great idea to have Spider-Man climbing on something. So Spider-Man does also come with a lot of web accessories. We've got the 2 smallish webs that you can put around the wrist here. So you basically need to pop the hand out and then put it on the wrist, and then it would look like that. Because KOs are a bit more fragile, I'm worried about the wrist, so I'll probably not take this off. Apologies guys, but yeah, these look fairly well done. I mean, they're basically just white plastic, and the sculpt is ripped directly off of Mafex, so I have no complaints there. They look alright. This web looks like it can hold on to something. It's got like a grippy thing here, so that looks pretty cool as well. It doesn't have the thing that goes around the wrist, so you probably have to have Spider-Man holding it using one of these hands, but that should fit in well. Yeah, so that fits in alright, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's not the best tightest fit, but it still fits in. So you could probably put that on somebody's face, I'd imagine. So if you do that, I don't know what it's for, to be honest. It looks like it could be a face mask, or Spider-Man trying to cover someone's face up with his web, but I'm not sure if that's the purpose. We've got 2 mid webs, which are a little bit longer than the short webs. So that's what the short web looks like, and that's the long web. So it's the mid web, it's a little bit longer. Again, Mafex sculpt, so it is what it is. It's just white plastic. And then we've got the longer one that doesn't have the loop that goes around the wrist, but yeah, that looks pretty good. I think you could use it for, like, with the swinging hand again, you could probably push that in and use it to make Spider-Man look like he's swinging from something, but doesn't fit in well. I'm not sure if that's a KO thing, but not, yeah, it doesn't go further than that, so yeah. And last but not least, Spider-Man also comes with a stand, but because the stand is just like a standard stand, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it too much. It's just a base and like a stand and a clip to hold on to Spider-Man. So next up, we'll get into the articulation for this Spider-Man figure. In terms of the head can go up that much, that's pretty good. Go down that much, but with the neck obviously also moving, it just allows for a little bit of that extra range of motion. The head can pivot side to side. With the neck, it pivots like nobody's business, so that's pretty awesome. This shoulder I have a problem with, so basically as soon as I try to pose it, it will pop off, but it didn't for some reason then, which, oh no, there you go, so that pops off. I mean, you can push it back down, which doesn't really worry me too much, but then I wouldn't do extreme posing with him, or basically use this hand to be the one that's holding Spider-Man up to something. So yeah, that's something to worry about. But basically shoulders can butterfly pretty well. The shoulders can go up and down, and there's a ball system here as well, which could take Spider-Man up and down as well. The bicep is a bit stuck, but rotates okay. The hands can go all the way around. Shoulders can do better than 90, which is pretty good. We've already checked the bicep swivel, so the elbow can double hinge with no issues. It is a little bit squeaky, but I'd rather have it tight than really loose, so I don't mind it too much, even if I have to work with it a little bit more to get it to the positions I want. No cut at the glove, but there's a wrist joint here, so it's basically like a ball that you go in and out and then all the way around, and then you can position that to basically do that or that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. In terms of the torso, I'll just get that aligned a little bit. In terms of the torso, he can crunch forward that much, which is really decent, but the belt does look a little bit weird. He can go back that much, which is amazing. Side to side pivots, no issues there. He can rotate around at both points. That's now the thighs is where we come into like a little bit of the issues. So especially with this thigh, because it's sticking out so much, it does give me a little bit of a problem in terms of articulating, so I can't move it forward and back that much without the plastic touching that. So I need to drop the hinge a little bit, and then once I drop the hinge, it's much more fluid. No issues there. But then the red does stick out like an ugly sore thumb or whatever it is. It just doesn't look nice. The kick out is not a full Jean-Claude Van Damme, so even if you do both with the hinges dropped, it won't do like a whole thing, but it can still do the surface, which is not bad. And there's obviously drop hinges, we just looked at that. There's a swivel at the thigh here, so basically the red part, if it was blue, it would have been much better, but it is what it is. So yeah, the only way to kind of make it look a little bit better is to gap the thigh, but then that makes the legs rotate in, which doesn't look nice. So to get it neutral, you have to show a little bit of the red insides, and I guess it's not that bad. In terms of the knees, double joint, and even with just the top, the bottom isn't engaged that much. Even with just the top, he can pretty much crunch in like all the way, which is awesome. And just with the bottom, yeah, he can do that much, which is not bad. You've also got the ankle joint here, rotates around. Basically, you go up and down. You can configure it to I don't think you can configure it to go side to side, but you can still pivot, which is decent. And you've got like a toe hinge. So in terms of articulation, this guy can do a lot, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now let's gear up for some size comparisons. So the best way to compare this KO Spider-Man's height is next to an authentic Spider-Man, and this is the Ben Reilly Spider-Man that was I think that just came out like a couple weeks ago. But basically, the KO Spider-Man does really stand up well next to the authentic Spider-Man, and they scale pretty much like equally, so I have no complaints there. I mean, even if it's a KO Spider-Man, it does get the sizing right. It might have some proportions a little bit off where it's a little bit skinnier, but other than that, I mean, like, it just stands up exactly the same as the authentic Spider-Man, and I think in that term, this Spider-Man is amazing. So here we have the KO Spider-Man next to some authentic Mafex figures, and I really don't think the scale is that bad. Next to Ben Reilly, we've already seen him, but he looks very much on par. Next to Superman, Spider-Man should be a little bit smaller, so that's pretty cool. Next to Hush, that works really well. Catwoman does look a little bit smaller than the KO Spider-Man, and Batman obviously is as big as Superman in the Mafex line. So this Spider-Man fits in perfectly with Mafex. So now here we have the KO Spider-Man next to some other Marvel Legends Spider-Man related figures, and on the extreme left there we've got Gwen, who scales pretty well with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's taller. We've got Black Cat, who's also a little bit shorter than Spider-Man. The black suited Spider-Man, symbiote Spider-Man, also looks a little bit shorter, but he's probably like crunched in a little bit more. So I think they're pretty much on par in terms of height. And the Venom on the extreme right basically is a lot bigger because he's using the Hyperion kind of body, but fits in really well with Marvel Legends as well. So here we have Spider-Man next to some MCU movieverse figures. On the extreme left, we've got the Night Monkey, which I think scales pretty well with Spider-Man. Night Monkey might be a little bit shorter than the Spider-Man. Next to him, we've got the Homecoming Spider-Man from Mezco, which I think scales pretty well. Mezco is a little bit beefier, like a little bit more human proportion, but this Spider-Man still gets the job done and is a little bit taller in fact, so that works really well. On the right there we've got the Iron Spider from SHF, so that guy is pretty tiny. And on the extreme right there we've got the Venom from the Venom movie, which is massive, and it's built on like a completely separate body all for himself. So yeah, that figure is a lot bigger, but I think this KO Spider-Man scales with everything else that we're seeing in front of us. So next up, for some cross-universe action, we've got the Mattel Multiverse line. On the extreme left, we've got the Batman Beyond. Right next to him, we've got the Jason Todd Red Hood. Right next to Spider-Man, we've got the Dick Grayson Batman. And at the end there, we've got the Tim Drake Robin. And yeah, this also scales pretty well. Spider-Man's a little bit shorter in terms of Mattel Multiverse being a little bit taller than I think Marvel Legends as well, but yeah, all in all, it still works. And the Spider-Man being a KO figure, usually KO figures are shrunken down. This is not, and it works really well. So next up, we've got some Batman from across the multiverse, and these guys are basically 7-inch scale from McFarlane, so definitely they're a lot taller. Alright, so now that we've looked at everything to do with the Spider-Man, close-ups, articulation, accessories, height comparisons, my final thoughts on the Spider-Man is that it is a really well executed knockoff figure. It doesn't really decrease in size too much, so it's really comparable to everything that's come before from an authentic Mafex company. So this Spider-Man, if you can't find the original one, which is skyrocketed in price now, is probably worth picking up if you want to replace or just put him in like a background kind of shelf or something like that, and he will look okay, decent. In execution, the joints are a little bit poor. The paint choices are not the best. Paint app's not the best. The red part being visible even when the thighs should really be blue. That's kind of a bummer, especially on the right leg there. But all in all, it's a really well done figure, and I think for the price, because the authentic one is so expensive and so hard to find, it is worth picking up. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, you learned something about this KO figure, and hopefully it helped you make a decision on whether you want to buy or want to skip this knockoff figure. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos on my channel, please hit subscribe, and thank you so much for watching this video.